Missing, inaccurate, or conflicting data can compromise investigations and place officers at risk. It's critical for officers and investigators to know everything about a person of interest and their associations to arrive at the correct decision. However, investigators can spend up to 80% of their time collecting and preparing data instead of analyzing it. IMT's Intel ID offers law enforcement and intelligence agencies a next-generation yet cost-effective investigative intelligence solution that historically has only been available to large agencies and fusion centers. This fully managed solution incorporates Senzing's real-time AI for entity resolution, natural language processing, relationship discovery, and alerting to deliver powerful insights to investigators. Intel ID's easy-to-understand licensing model allows you to introduce active and historical RMS data and even external data from other agencies to enable fast and efficient task force collaboration. Analysts can quickly assimilate stored data with live streams and consolidate unstructured reports to find paths between entities, regardless of degree of separation. With over 25 years of identity solutions expertise and innovation, IMT's Intel ID brings the powerful investigative analytics used by the largest agencies within reach. Let's take a look at how IMT's Intel ID can help an analyst identify deeper insights when investigating a case. A criminal analyst has been looking into a specific robbery that occurred recently. Using IMT's I2 Analyst Notebook plugin, which delivers state-of-the-art visual intelligence to investigators, the analyst signs into IMT Intel ID to search for information on this specific occurrence. Here, the analyst can query that data and chart the results on the I2 Analyst Notebook panel, which would include other persons of interest and relationships not otherwise easily identified when searching the RMS. By querying on a specific incident or occurrence number, the analyst can chart the occurrence onto the existing I2 Analyst Notebook chart. Behind the scenes, millions of records across a number of data sources, both structured and unstructured, have been collected and collated by Senzing's real-time AI for entity resolution engine. Senzing's entity resolution provides powerful insights about who is who and who is related to whom. The charted incident shows all of the entities involved that are tied to the incident, including information about a person's role in that incident as victim, witness, or suspect. Here we see the suspect and witness to the robbery and a field report document that are all related to this incident. The relationships that are explicitly disclosed in structured data are labeled, making them clearly visible to investigators. Intel ID delivers even deeper insights by detecting non-obvious relationships between all available source records. The analyst can walk out the information in any direction by expanding an entity to see what other entities may be related. How far you want to continue to traverse the data is entirely up to you. Here we see a discovered link with the person Marcus Holmes. The analyst can hover over a non-labeled link for more details on why Intel ID generated the relationship. In this case, the link was created because a name in the field report is similar to a name on a jacket within the Intel ID repository, Marcus Holmes. Intel ID applies natural language processing to perform entity extraction on documents before ingesting them into the solution. This allows the data to possibly link a critical piece of information that would otherwise take a lot of effort to discover. To look deeper into the data behind Carlton Folick, the entity flagged as the suspect, the analyst can select the Carlton on the chart and click the Resume button. The analyst can see all of Carlton's personal information that Intel ID assembled across different RMS records and resolved into a single entity. We notice that Carlton has two source records that were resolved to create one entity. We can expand this section to see what data sources contributed to this entity and what sources that data came from. In this case, there are two records from the RMS1 source system that Intel ID has determined is the same person, showing us that this is a probable duplicate within the master name index of the RMS1 system. The IMT I2 Analyst Notebook plugin can help you easily understand why these records were matched by Intel ID. The date of birth matches exactly, and the Social Security number is a close match, even with the transposition of the last two digits. The name match that occurred was between Carl Folek and Carlton Folick. Because Intel ID's name scoring applies multicultural linguistic algorithms to understand that Carl Folek and Carlton Folick are close variants. Back on Carlton's resume, we can also see that there are three related records. The analyst has only charted the robbery incident with occurrence ID ending in 2037. In this case, Jourdain, the witness to the robbery, and Carlton, the suspect, are obviously related through the robbery under investigation. With the IMT I2 Analyst Notebook plugin, the analyst can ask if there is a path that exists between Jourdain and Carlton that does not include this specific robbery and that is not already charted. The Find Path Advanced function enables this deeper insight between the two selected entities. The analyst can specify the maximum degrees of separation that Intel ID should traverse to identify a path between Jourdain and Carlton and exclude specific incidents. Here, the analyst can see that Carlton and Jourdain have both been tied to another robbery, but with their roles reversed from the prior one. This knowledge certainly makes these two parties much more interesting. Also, Jourdain and Carlton are both known by different jacket IDs in the same RMS system, but Intel ID has merged those jackets into the two distinct entities, even across different incidents. This insight would be lost if Intel ID did not resolve the multiple records into individual entities and link those entities to the appropriate incidents. The analyst now wants to understand if there are additional linkages outside of these two occurrences and excludes the newly charted occurrence to the exclude list. We don't find anything at 5 degrees of separation. Let's try 10. We have found a path at 7 degrees of separation. Now the analyst can see a path of 7 links to other individuals that are well known to the department does exist. Next, the analyst wants to see what else is known about Marcus Holmes and continues to walk out that path. Marcus shares an address with Vincent, who shares a phone number with Jourdain. This indicates that Marcus might be more relevant to the individuals directly involved in the original incident than we originally saw, leading the analyst to investigate further on Marcus. Because Intel ID performed all data collection and collation, the analyst has time to focus on investigative analysis instead of data collection. Also, the analyst would have likely missed the connection between Jourdain and Carl if Intel ID had not identified the similar but different records in the RMS as the same. Intel ID also help to uncover the names from field report narratives to expose tighter links between Marcus and the incident under investigation than recorded in the RMS. As you've seen, Intel ID offers next-generation investigative analysis that enables collaboration both within and across agencies for a fraction of the cost of other solutions. Intel ID's capabilities are now accessible to agencies of all sizes and optimized to deliver critical data insights to analysts and officers, whether in the office or in the field. To speak with an IMT Intel ID specialist, please contact sales@imt.ca.